answer the questions here in the room here. If you would, of course, just kind of get our attention, we'll call on you, give your name and your affiliation, so everybody will know exactly who you are and who you work for and things like that.
Yeah,
we're going to start off with some opening statements by our folks up front here, and so we're going to start off, go left to right, and start off with Mr. Keith Gill, the Commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference. Mr. Gill.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Keith Gill, and I am the Commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference. And it's wonderful to be here on the campus at Southern Miss. On behalf of the Sun Belt presidents, chancellors, and directors of athletics, easy for me to say. So I'd like to officially announce that the University of Southern Mississippi has accepted our invitation to join the Sun Belt Conference. Welcome to the Sun Belt. Thank you, sir. Appreciate all of you joining us here today in Hattiesburg, as well as those joining us virtually via Zoom, as we celebrate this wonderful occasion. I want to thank our university CEOs, and particularly the president of the Sun Belt Conference, Dr. Kelly Dampus, president of Arkansas State, as well as our athletic directors for their leadership as we continue through the process of adding new members. When national realignment discussions began, our goal was to only add a school if it added value to our conference. And Southern Mississippi certainly does that. Hattiesburg clearly fits perfectly into the Sun Belt footprint, which expands from the Carolinas to Texas. Plus, Southern Mississippi mirrors our conference athletics and academic missions. We take pride in the fact that all of our members focus on the academic and personal development of our students. We are in the education business after all, and our most important responsibility is to support the health and academic, competitive, and personal development of our students. The best part of this announcement today is Southern Mississippi is a perfect match for those values that I just talked about. And we're thrilled to have them join the Sun Belt Conference. I'd like to add here how proud I am of the unprecedented success of our program, that our programs have achieved in the last year. Could not be prouder of all the Sun Belt student athletes, coaches, staff, and administrators for their commitment to all of our sports programs. 2020 was a breakout year for the Sun Belt Conference. We're the only non-A5 conference with 2 of our teams ranked in the final college football playoff rankings, and our postseason accomplishments support this narrative of success. We are proud that the Sun Belt leads the FBS for winning 70% of our bowl games in the last 5 years. So the Sun Belt has many strengths to celebrate, and today we're that much stronger with the addition of Southern Mississippi as our newest. It's a great day for the Sun Belt. It's a great day for Southern Mississippi. We welcome all of you to the Sun Belt Conference. Go Golden Eagles, and we're looking forward to having you in our family. So thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner.
Call on now the president of the University of Southern Mississippi, Dr. Rodney.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Commissioner Gill, for being here. On behalf of the University of Southern Mississippi, I'd like to welcome each person in this room today to Hattiesburg, to Mississippi, and to the University of Southern Mississippi. There are so many faces that I'm not familiar with, so I know that y'all have come from far and wide to be with us today, and we're so grateful that you're in our state, that you're in our city, and that you're at the University of Southern Mississippi. The University of Southern Mississippi, as mentioned before, has accepted the invitation to join the Sun Belt Conference effective on the 1st of July, 2023. Membership in the Sun Belt is an exciting opportunity for our university, an exciting opportunity for our student athletes, an exciting opportunity for our alumni and fans, and an exciting opportunity for the university's host communities. I believe without a doubt that this move will allow our student athletes to compete in what is fast becoming the best group of 5 conference in the country. And we will also provide greater visibility for the university's championship athletics programs. In addition, the Sun Belt's geographic footprint will create new regional rivalries and will encourage more visitors to the state of Mississippi, further increasing our athletics program's $41 million annual economic impact on the state of Mississippi. Before I turn to our Director of Athletics, Jeremy McClain, to share remarks, I would like to acknowledge the university's long tenure as part of Conference USA. As most of you know, the University of Southern Mississippi was a founding member of Conference USA when it was established in 1995. Since that time, the university has enjoyed the camaraderie among Conference USA member institutions, and we believe that we have helped contribute to an intercollegiate athletics environment that promotes the health and well-being of all students, but particularly the health and well-being of student athletes. As president of the University of Southern Mississippi, I want to express my appreciation for the staff that work at Conference USA and the work that they have done on our behalf for many, many years as a founding member. To the Commissioner, Judy McLeod, to Keisha Dunlap, to Rob Philippi, to Cree Raspberry, and to General Counsel Kevin Sweeney. Thank you for what you've done for USM and for member institutions of Conference USA. In closing, as we prepare to start this next new exciting chapter with the Sun Belt Conference, I'm excited for our coaches. I am excited for our alumni, fans, and other stakeholders. But most importantly, I'm excited for our student athletes who will now have a greater opportunity to have their friends and their families attend their games and watch them compete at the Division I level. I believe that Golden Eagles everywhere will join us in turning the page and in being a part of writing the next new chapter in our Southern Miss story. We are thrilled, Commissioner, for the invitation of membership, and we are so excited that you have accepted our willingness to join, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you again, sir. Thank you so much.
Calling now our Director of Athletics, Jeremy McClain. Jeremy.
Thank you, John. Today is a great day for Southern Miss. We're extremely excited to become members of the Sun Belt Conference. I want to thank Commissioner Gill. I want to thank the CEOs within the Sun Belt, and want to thank the AD group in the Sun Belt. I know there were a lot of people behind closed doors over the past weeks and maybe even months advocating for Southern Miss as a strong candidate to be a Sun Belt member. So I'm very thankful for them and obviously thankful for the invitation to join Commissioner Gill. Also want to thank Dr. Bennett. I really appreciate his leadership during this process. You know, his willingness to listen, to talk through things, to be very thorough, to help me think through things. We would not be in the spot without his guidance, counsel, and his support. So thank you, Dr. Bennett. And we're excited about this opportunity for many reasons. You know, this move allows us to join what I believe is one of the most competitive group of 5 conferences in the country. We're going to be able to create regional rivalries and reduce travel for our student athletes. We're also going to be able to allow our fans to travel. We have a very passionate fan base, and they're going to have some great opportunities to help fill up stadiums throughout the Sun Belt. I'm very excited about that for them and for our student athletes. And then this gives us an opportunity, I think, for greater exposure for our programs. From a media standpoint, from a television standpoint, I think we're going to be able to be on a stage we want to be on. And that is obviously a national stage. You know, I was able to watch this league grow during my time at Troy. I probably have a unique perspective in this case where I was in the league for 4 years and really was able to continue to watch the Sun Belt make really good decisions over the course of the past decade and grow into, like what I said before, one of the best Group of 5 conferences in the country. And I think there's a lot of people who need to be commended for that. Commissioner Gill, for sure, his staff, CEOs, former Commissioner Carl Benson. There were a lot of key decisions along the way that positioned the Sun Belt in a way in where they are today. And so we feel like this is a wonderful fit on both sides. And we look forward to soon competing in the Sun Belt and helping to continue to elevate the conference and our programs on that national stage. So today's a great day. Commissioner Gill, thank you so much.
We're going to open it up to some questions now. If you would, when you ask your question, if you please just identify yourself, identify what outlet affiliate you're with, so our folks up here will know exactly who they're talking to. So if you would, you just kind of raise your hand, we will recognize it. We'll get started. Okay, go ahead.
Final sports. Jeremy, I guess the question a lot of people want to know, when did this begin? What was the process like having to make this move?
You know, it happened pretty quickly, as these things tend to happen. You know, obviously when conference realignment starts, people start talking to each other around the country, right? So you're staying in touch with people, try to understand what's happening in different places. You're planning for best case / worst case scenarios. And so a lot of conversation over the past couple months, I guess since July, when the first initial shoe fell. But really, as far as having serious conversations with the Sun Belt, those things happen very quickly. And you know, because out of respect for our conference, for Conference USA and the Sun Belt, you know, you don't have those conversations too early. So it really rounds up here in the last week or so. But there was a lot of conversations had among ADs and things like that over the past couple of months.
Right.
Just a question for Commissioner Gill. When was the first time you visited USM's campus, and what was your first impressions of this campus? And you briefly mentioned the fan base. Just can you kind of expand on the passionate fan base you're excited to add to the Sun Belt?
Yeah, I'll actually maybe answer that question in reverse order, if that's okay. Well, I guess I'll end up answering both ways. The first time I was here on campus was when Troy visited. So I came to see Troy, member of the Sun Belt Conference play. And the thing that I was really struck by was there was a tremendous storm that, you know, kind of hit maybe 45 minutes before that game started. And then obviously everyone scattered. And when kickoff happened, the place was pretty full, you know, and in my head I was like, well, I would have gone home if I were the commissioner. So right then, that was my first kind of indication, you know, certainly visually what the fan base. And I grew up and certainly understand who Florida. I was a Florida State fan growing up in Florida. Certainly know, you know, some of the victories that Southern Miss had over the Seminoles when I was a kid and broke my heart. So I've certainly been aware of, you know, of the tradition and of the fan base. Fan bases are important. I mean, I think that one of the reasons that Southern Miss rose to the top was because of the passionate fan base. We want to make sure that, one, that we are growing the atmosphere at our games and try to make sure those are full as possible. And also making sure that fans have a chance to go. So, but the first time I was on campus was for the Troy Southern Miss football game this year. And I thought the campus was beautiful. You know, you turn right in, there's a beautiful dome kind of building that you kind of see when you first walk in. I thought the brick architecture was great. And also seeing the football kind of facility in the stadium, I thought was impressive as well. So.
Okay. If you would identify yourself so we know who to talk to, please. Go ahead.
Kelly Sander with the Eagle Hour on Super Talk Radio. Couple questions. Jeremy, you had mentioned at different times that there would have to be, paraphrasing here, several dominoes would have to fall for this to work. Could you, whatever degree you're comfortable sharing, talk about what those dominoes were? And then also, what are the financial ramifications of leaving Conference USA?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer both of those. You know, when we talk about dominoes, it's really the national landscape, right? And so that began in July, but you just knew that there was more movement that would happen. So slowly but surely, people made decisions and made announcements that they were shifting conferences, which opened up other opportunities. And I do think some of those decisions were the dominoes I was referencing. And obviously the last domino was an actual opportunity and invitation to join the Sun Belt. And then from a standpoint of the financial piece of that, the bylaws state that, you know, exit fee constitutes 2 years worth of revenue distribution. So we estimate that to be in the $3 million range. And we have a plan to address that over the next couple of years.
Go ahead.
Stan Caldwell, so Darrell. Jerry, can you address what this means as sort of TV coverage goes, TV footprint for the I know they was filming.
Yeah, I'm happy to take a shot at it, Commissioner. You jump in here and correct me where I make a mistake. Sunbelt Conference has an agreement with ESPN, which obviously X number of home games, or excuse me, X number of games on television throughout the year. Some of those are midweek. I do know from my time in the league, the conference office does a great job of trying to balance midweek games from a home game standpoint, you know, and try to make sure that they're playing Saturdays to play as well. But so not only is the opportunity there to be on the national stage, whether it be midweek, whether it be on the weekend, but also from a streaming standpoint, which quite frankly is where our industry is headed. The ESPN platform and having one platform for people to go and find our games. And so that goes well beyond football, basketball, obviously baseball, volleyball, soccer, softball, you name it. There's a great opportunity to have a consistent product that can be easily accessed and be able to put a high quality product out there. And we've been working hard the last couple of years. Lee Field, Brad Smith are in this room. They've done a great job. We built out a studio, a production space where we can stream games at a very, very high level. And so this opportunity from an ESPN app standpoint, ESPN Plus, ESPN3, we're prepared for that. And I think it's going to really pay dividends for us. So Commissioner, anything you want to add to that?
You know, I would just add that ESPN's a pretty tremendous partner. You know, a lot of reach, and college football obviously is something they promote in a big way. And if you think about last year for us in Sunbelt, you know, we generated probably about $261 million worth of kind of a value just through impressions and those kinds of things. And that's an important part of how we build up. So I think that, you know, having Southern Miss as part of that, particularly what they bring to the table, is only going to enhance that for them and for us. Really important part of this picture.
Andrew, go ahead.
Jerry, in the past year, you guys, every sport have played Sunbelt teams in the non-conference matchup. How do you try to fill that gap now? I mean, you try to keep the relationship, I guess, with USA and the future AAC teams, or do you look elsewhere?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think the inventory, quote unquote, kind of shifts. And I, you know, was talking to, matter of fact, I had a conversation with the former Conference USA team that's going to move to the American about that today. They called about something else, but just really said, hey, we need to figure out how to continue to schedule games. And so I think it's just a shifting of, again, quote unquote, inventory for us. Hopefully we'll, you know, our plan will still be to schedule regionally and, you know, and we're playing opportunities.
Okay, go ahead. Make sure to introduce yourself. So.
Jeff Hager with WXXV. I guess with any big decision, you probably have a list of pros and cons. Was there anything that made it a hard decision, but then at the end of the day, any conversation or just any overwhelming thing that made this the right time and the right thing to do for you guys?
Great, Jeff. I appreciate you being here.
I'm good.
So, yeah.
I haven't said anything. I thought they were going to get me in trouble. That's why I was looking at you. So,
you know, Jeff, great question. I think anytime you kind of get in the middle of this process, I guess I can't speak for everyone, myself, way I approach is that I'm careful about things. And I'm kind of always looking for a landmine or an issue that could create some real challenges for us. The thing here that is really, I've been blown away with is that we couldn't find that. And I don't say that lightly, but it made a lot of sense geographically. It made a lot of sense for our fan base, it made a lot of sense for our student athletes. As I talked to our coaches, they were all really, really excited about the potential. As I talked to some of our key donors and board members, they were all really excited about the opportunity. And so we really never found that thing that we had to stop and say, can we work through this or not? And for me, that was just kind of affirmation that this was exactly what we needed to do.
Go ahead, Andrew.
For Mr. Gill. I don't know how much you can answer on this question, but it's safe to say that you guys are at least not done exploring expanding the conference.
It is safe to say that we're not done. Exploring the span of the conference.
Any timetable?
No timetable. We certainly don't want to put ourselves in a box, but we're having active conversations now. It's, more announcements I would suspect of companies.
Who else is being invited? Who else is coming to the conference besides you? Or are you not at liberty to say that?
That might get me in trouble.
He's on his opposite way.
It's not gonna say things that get him in trouble. I want to make sure I say things or don't say things that get me in trouble. So I will refrain from answering that.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Gary, I know you kind of touched on this already, but how much easier was this process for you being a former Sunbelt AD? That just, it's not like you had to introduce yourself to everybody. I think you kind of knew everyone in the room.
Yeah, I think it did. It probably was easier for me just because I knew the lay of the land, I understood a lot of the positives, understood what could have been challenges that maybe the league has overcome over the last 3 or 4 years. But I'll say that Southern Miss didn't need me to prop it up. Southern Miss can stand on its own 2 feet, and the tradition, the history, the fan base, what's happening on this campus, not just athletically, but what's happening across this campus, I think speaks for itself. So did it make the process easier on me? Probably so. And I think there were people in the room that advocated for us because they knew this place. They knew probably from me all positives, but I don't think Southern Miss needed my help.
Did you perceive this happening when you first got hired?
No, I mean, I don't know that it was, my focus was on Southern Miss and the current conference, but so I don't know that I had any, grand ideas that this would happen down the road. Did I think that geographically it probably made sense? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a conversation a lot of us have had around the country about geography for a long time, but didn't really think didn't know we'd be sitting here.
Just on that point more broadly, our work at the university is about creating opportunities for our students, for our faculty, for our staff. So when we began this journey almost 9 years or so ago, our work has been about positioning the university for opportunities, Commissioner, just like this, so that people would see the value in a Southern Miss and be excited about a Southern Miss. So when you think about what our work is about, it's about our students for the rest of their lives having opportunities to be able to pick and choose what they want to do and what they want to invest in, how they want to impact their community. And so the university is a part of that. So yes, I knew 8 or 9 years ago when I came here that we were positioning ourselves for these types of opportunities. We want to be ready when that opportunity presented itself.
Kelly.
Thank you, John. Commissioners, this is for you. Regardless of what happens to, for example, the AAC and Conference USA, as a person who would negotiate future contracts for the Sun Belt, what would you anticipate the economic impact to be with the strengthening of your conference with Southern Miss and Marshall, for example, some of the other schools? What might be what do you foresee the economic impact to be going forward in contract renegotiations with ESPN, for example?
I think that, first of all, I think that our presidents and chancellors and our ADs have been really focusing on making our conference better. And our conference got better today, you know, and I think anytime that happens, then that puts yourself into advantage to take advantage of opportunities, like President Bennett just said. So I think everything is going to be favorable. You know, I feel like, you know, the addition of Southern Miss, we couldn't ask for a better partner in a better location with a better fan base and better tradition than a university like Southern Mississippi. And so we're so excited that, you know, that is kind of the first kind of piece of this puzzle as we continue to improve ourselves. So I think it'll be positive. I think it'll be really good. And I certainly look forward to the future of the Sun Belt as we're kind of moving forward with some of these.
And when does the current contract expire?
2031.
Thank you.
Got a couple here from the computer. Commissioner, I think this is for you. With the Sun Belt lineup not changing, do you believe that has led to the growth of the Sun Belt?
Yes, like I said before, I think we got better. You know, I think the first thing that we wanted to do when we started this was maintain our core. So we got 10 football playing schools. And we wanted to make sure that we maintain those core groups just because they're a strong group. And we were really well positioned just with the members that we had. Then the second question that we asked ourselves is, are there folks that we can associate with who would make us better? And like I said, we got better today. And so I feel like we had a strong lineup and now we're getting stronger because we're sitting here in Hattiesburg and Southern Miss has agreed to join. And that's going to make us better. So yes, I feel like we were strong and we got strong.
Jeremy, this is for you. Hunter Cloud from the Natchez Democrat. How much will this move save in travel, both time-wise and financially?
Yeah, great question, Hunter. I appreciate you being on. You know, it's kind of hard to pin down that number, quite honestly, because every year is a little bit different from a scheduling standpoint. But our estimation is that we travel cost-wise from expense standpoint, it could easily be $500,000 annually for us. And then when we think about, and I don't know that we live this, I don't know that everybody thinks about it this way, but from a student athlete's perspective, what we have to do now, let's say our soccer team is going on, getting on a flight, which they did last week. You know, they have to leave here in plenty of time to get to the airport, which is an hour and 45 minutes away. Spend time in the airport, take their flight, you know, and do the same thing on the way back. And so from a class standpoint, from an academic standpoint, that is really, really difficult. And so this allows us to do that less often. So big impact on the financial side and just from our student athlete well-being standpoint.
Commissioner, another one for you. Glenn Dyer, 247 Sports. As the Sun Belt adds to its inventory of teams, do you anticipate changes to the media right deals with ESPN?
You know, I don't want to kind of get ahead of myself in terms of commenting on what may or may happen with the ESPN our media package with them. What I would say is ESPN is a great partner. They're a great supporter of the Sun Belt. We're so proud to be with them, and certainly look forward to kind of having these wonderful games and kind of competitions kind of on that.
Good.
Taylor Curett from WDAM, and for Jeremy, kind of a two-parter. What feedback have you gotten from coaches on campus about this move, how they're excited? And just from a competitive standpoint, can you speak briefly about how excited you guys are, not only to compete in football, but what they have in the Sun Belt with baseball and basketball?
Yeah, thanks, Taylor. Appreciate that question. And I'll say our coaches are very excited. I think as we got into the process and I started approaching them about the possibility of kind of having some private conversations, they were very excited about what this looks like. Maybe the unique thing here is that because of where we're located, that we play a lot. We've over the years played a lot of Sun Belt schools. Our coaches are friends with a lot of the coaches in the league, and so they had a really good perspective. And so they are all very excited about what this looks like for us. And I've got nothing but good feedback. And then, from the standpoint of the competitive nature, I just say, the proof is kind of in the numbers. If you look at what from a football piece, what's happened over the last few years, and it's not just, this last year was a banner year. But the commissioner and I were talking, I think we have 4 different institutions ranked in the top 25 in the last 4 years or so. And so obviously from a football standpoint, continue to elevate that profile. But then as we talk about the diamond sports, I mean, last year, the Sun Belt, I think had 4 softball programs get bids to the NCAA tournament, which is unbelievable. And then you talk about baseball, South Alabama, Louisiana Lafayette, Troy, you just kind of go down the list of all the really, really good programs. And it is also a multi-bid league in most years. And then the basketball league is probably way underrated. I kind of lived that for a while. It is an absolute grind because every team in that league is really good. And there's a ton of parity in that league. So every night you have to be really good because anyone can beat anyone. And so I'm really excited about the level of competition really across the board. And excited about what Southern Miss can bring to the table to continue to elevate that.
Jeff Hager, WXXD, when maybe back over the summer, you turn on the TV, you see Texas, Oklahoma, and in the back of your mind, maybe you're like, well, here we go. What is like the state of college athletics? I mean, just where everybody's kind of scrambling and moving around, just kind of, can you touch on that, just how everybody's moving around and, you know, what that means for the
So Jeff, I remember this moment very vividly because it was the 1 week of vacation I get during the year. And I was trying to go to the beach, Dr. Bennett, one morning, and it broke. And I happened to be on vacation with a couple other athletic directors who I'm friends with around the country. And you know, we just, our vacation kind of went south after that. But so I remember it very vividly. And yes, there are conversations that, you know, began to happen right off the bat of, hey, what does this mean for all of us? And, you know, what is this kind of domino effect? What's it going to mean? And so for Southern Miss, it was about how do we, and you guys have heard me say this many, many times, but how do we position ourselves in the best way possible and put Southern Miss in a great spot? But I think everyone's kind of been in that mode of you know, it's a little uneasiness, it's a little anxiousness, it's a lot of phone calls. And you know, I know last week I didn't get a lot of sleep and probably was on my phone, I don't know, 18 of the 24 hours of the day. And so, but that's really been, you know, kind of the consistent over the last few months is just a lot of conversation with a lot of unknowns. And it is an anxious time. And, you know, unfortunately, I think in this type of situation, some people are going to end up in really good spots and some people are not. And that's difficult. But, you know, at the same time, our focus has been on Southern Miss trying to get us to the best place possible.
Dino Mason with the Student Friends. I just had a question about the beach volleyball. It's not sponsored by the Sun Belt, so what's going to happen to that? Is it still sponsored by Conference USA?
We'll see. I don't have the answer to that. That's a great question. And one we've asked and talked to our beach volleyball. The uniqueness of that obviously is that that's a conference that's really combined Sun Belt and Conference USA. We've got a lot of, I think 4 or 5 beach programs within the Sun Belt. So I would hope that that remains kind of intact and we continue with that. Time will tell.
We get this one, Chair. This is from Rick Cleveland, wants to know about exit fees. You can speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Appreciate you being on today. So we anticipate, the bylaws say that exit fees are made up of 2 years of distribution. And so for us, we anticipate that to be about $3 million over the next couple of years. And we have a plan for that. Dr. Bennett and I sat and talked through that early on in the process to make sure that that wasn't going to be a roadblock for us. I appreciate his support in talking through that with me. And so we feel good about moving forward with that. That's what it looks like.
Go ahead and reset.
Ultimately, for Commissioner Gill. Commissioner, when you are in contract negotiations with media outlets as ESPN, what do you kind of tell those outlets that simply the need or why the Sun Belt is unique compared to
That's a great question. So that's certainly appreciate that. One, I think, is our strength. And
it came in the mail for you 3 weeks ago, and I keep forgetting it.
So the plus pieces, so you're thinking obviously the linear opportunities are really there, but there are some opportunities on ESPN Plus across other sports. I think the amount of inventory is really important as we add schools and teams, that grows, that footprint grows. And then just the compelling matchups. We've got some really compelling matchups, whether you look in our east with Coastal, App, and Georgia Southern, and some of those games, if you look in our west, Louisiana, obviously south, we're gonna have Southern Miss now, Troy. So we've got some really compelling matchups in those things that I think will be really valuable to our partners as they try to certainly drive eyeballs to the network and as we try to drive impressions, you know, of course. I think the fan bases are real. I think the fan bases are really important in a couple ways. Obviously, that's a set of eyeballs, but really the atmosphere in a game, like, you know, having that crowd is really important. And I certainly think that, you know, Southern Miss brings a lot of table in that regard. But we feel like we're a national brand, you know, and so from a TV viewing standpoint, we don't believe like that's just about kind of local fan bases. We think we have reach that's beyond that. Certainly the numbers.
Kelly.
Thank you, Jeremy. So this is kind of a follow-up to the volleyball question. So for lack of a better term, in a lame duck academic 22-23 year, what does athletics at Southern Miss look like? I mean, especially Conference USA goes belly up, for example. Just how does all of this fit in for 20?
Yeah, Kelly, thanks. A fair question for sure. I don't anticipate anything really changing for us from the standpoint of that athletic year. We'll still be able to compete for championships. We'll still, you know, I know you kind of mentioned a doomsday scenario there. I don't think that's the case. Because there's a lot of teams that may be exiting, but none of them are exiting prior to the summer of 23 at this point. So I don't see that being a real serious issue for us. And so I think our student athletes, and that's important to us, obviously, everybody at this table, that our student athletes, even throughout the next year and a half, have the same opportunities and get the same opportunities that they would have otherwise. So I don't think that's going to change.
Thank you.
Let me get this one in real quick, Andrew. This is from Heath Rivals. Jeremy, were there any stipulations from a facility standpoint or anything else that USM have to agree to before accepting the bid?
Yeah, thanks, Heath. Appreciate you being on today. No, the answer to the question is no. But we are committed to continuing to improve our facilities. And no caveats to the agreement, but we've talked about all the things Southern Miss, and we talked about facilities and where we're headed and some of the things that are on the docket for us. And so even though there's no caveats to the agreement, we're committed to that facility enhancement, and we'll continue to move that.
And
The one thing I would just add to that, just to be really clear, is that, you know, as our CEOs and ADs kind of evaluated Southern Miss and portfolio and who they are, you know, we were really excited with who they are, you know, as they look right now, their ability to compete right now, their ability to have really successful programs, who they are as an institution, and then obviously the passionate fan base. So there certainly wasn't any contingencies. We're really excited about who they are. Now, certainly when you join a competitive conference like the Sun Belt, everyone's growing and pushing, you know, and so at the end of the day, if you're not growing, you are falling back. But there certainly was everything that we saw, something that we wanted to be associated with and attracted to. And certainly think could be enhancements.
Andrew, kind of a two-part question first. I know in the AAC, there's a bylaw that says if you're hosting a tournament, they sure that away from the conference or anything like that.
I don't, not off the top of the head that I know of, Andrew. I realize why you're asking the question, and it's a fair question. And so I would just leave that as to be determined. We'll tackle that as we move forward.
And this is talking about did those 6 schools leaving CUSA going to the AAC, that impact this in any way, this process at all for you guys?
I'll say, you know, it was just another piece of the puzzle. It wasn't, hey, this is a deciding factor. It was just one of, you know, 30 pieces to the puzzle of, okay, this is a decision these people made. And so now we're in a position to make a decision for ourselves. And so I wouldn't say it was a deciding factor, it's just kind of part of the process.
This is for the Commissioner Gill. This is from Chris Danini from the Athletic. With school additions, could the Sun Belt grow to sponsor more sports like men's soccer?
Yes, we stand committed. There was a question, so I guess I should say hello, Chris. Certainly, thanks for the question, and also, if there are opportunities for us to grow our sport offerings, we certainly do. We had a question about volleyball, and certainly consider that if that's necessary.
Right, Jim?
For Dr. Bennett, just 5 years down the road, big picture, how does this move impact the university as a whole? Just touch on that.
Well, I hope that we will see enrollment increase. Our bread and butter is built on the ability to attract and retain young people, college-age students that can take a full set of courses and graduate in 4 years. So I hope that we will continue to recruit students from across the Gulf South, obviously, and beyond. And I hope that at the end of 5 years that we would be able to invest in facility improvements for our sport programs, as Jeremy mentioned just a moment ago. I hope that we would be able to increase our Eagle Club membership and our Circle of Champions memberships so that more people are in the Rock enjoying a beautiful Saturday in South Mississippi, watching football and other sports that we offer. I see this as an extension to the university, really across the board. It's another awesome tool in our toolbox to provide high quality education and research to people in the state of Mississippi and across the Gulf South.
Got time for a couple more questions. We'll get you then one more.
Okay, Commissioner Gill, just sort of a big picture question. Obviously, the SEC is expanding, the ACC and Pac-12 have talked about an alliance. How do you feel that affects Group of Five conferences, particularly in football? If you can kind of look in the crystal ball, how that may affect you guys and how the Sun Belt maybe is well positioned in your mind to sort of stay in that national conversation.
I think we're well positioned just because of the quality of our brand and obviously the footprint that we have. Folks are passionate about athletics, particularly football, and certainly we do that pretty well in Sun Belt. So I think that's always going to allow us to be kind of well positioned and certainly in that conversation, kind of in the national landscape. And I think that all the different moves, because we're all interconnected in some pretty significant ways, and so a move by one conference certainly impacts all of us. But I think that as we grow, I think the regionalization kind of approach that we certainly are taking and our CEOs they kind of talk about is really an important thing. I think that brings strength to us. And then I think our quality brings strength to us. And I think that if you have a nice regional footprint, a good mix of quality sports with really good institutions that are academically focused, I think you're well positioned kind of for whatever change kind of come.
Got time for one more. Anybody had to ask one? All right, Jeff, go ahead.
For Commissioner Gill, how long has the process been with the elementary conversations were being had about, okay, maybe we might invite Southern Miss? I mean, how long was that process from point A to the invitation actually extended?
I think, when you think about the process, it really did start when we all looked at our phones and saw the Texas and Oklahoma with the SEC. So I feel like that was around media days for us, so sometime in July, and kind of really working through the process and trying to understand, okay, what are the implications of that move? So I would say this process started in July, and for us it's still not over. So we'll see when the music stops.
Before we wrap up, Commissioner, I know you followed Southern Miss in some way, shape, or form throughout your career. Is there one Southern Miss moment that stands out in your mind, whether it be football, basketball, or baseball?
Yeah, I can't remember what year it was. But I certainly feel like I was maybe in high school, junior high, and Southern Miss beat Florida State.
89.
Okay, 89. And I'm a Florida. I grew up a Florida State fan, and so that was that was probably my biggest memory. But now I'm pulling for more of that.
Okay.